Hello everybody, welcome back. We are now hitting the round of 16 for the Lazer Grand Arena. We're going to not take up too much time going into this because it is a bit of a late start, but we are there. We have nick1324 versus Tebi. My name is Damaj. Joining me, of course, for this is the one and only Sad Shiba. How are you doing, my dude?
Hello, I'm doing good. I'm suffering from a little bit of whiplash because we were confused about whether this match was even going to go up. But thankfully, for our viewers and for us, Tammy, we can actually cast a match, which is great. Nick1324 and Tebi, I think both these guys are really, really strong players. I know that Nick is quite high in seed here, seed 5 compared to Tebi seed 12. But they're still quite high caliber players. You've got players like nick1324 lurking around the top 12, top 15 rounds of the qualifiers, and when nick1324 is in there, that means you've got some potential to do some really good stuff in that seeding anyway. So yeah, both these guys pretty good. I think nick1324 is a little bit more well-rounded, generally quite flexible amongst everything. Only real weakness seeming to be around the non-reading hidden side, from what I can see. I believe was qualifying map pool hidden to... Yeah, around there. That's seemingly the only major weakness I see around this qualifier. Is generally quite flexible. Tebi around the same. Only according to qualifier statistics, outshining Nick on the hard rock maps. Outside of that, it's either very close or Nick favored, simply put. So I'm looking generally for Tebi to want to exploit some of this reading stuff as much as he can, and that's why you see that Nomad 4 of Let's Quartz get picked initially here for Tebi. Wouldn't be surprised to see Rogoku Strip potentially picked, or maybe even another map like the Hard Rock. But it seems like Nick's going to go into that anyway. DT1 and Hard Rock 1 for Nick.
Yeah, well, Nick's picks in the previous matchup were Keelhold and Biddy Boogie. So Tebi getting rid of Keelhold makes a lot of sense, but of course that means Biddy Boogie gets locked in instantly. Kaleidoscope as well. We didn't actually see Kaleidoscope in his match against Swisti, but I think he's banking on the fact that Tebi played it as it was the 5th map between him and Yoxpai, and none of the scores there were particularly standout. So I think Nick's plan is to kind of take advantage of that and see what he can pick up. But on the side of Tebi, again, very different picks, like you said, mostly reading focused. Not opting into that hidden 2 I see, which is an interesting choice. But then again, it's a very, very dense focused map compared to what we saw back in the qualifying round. And now we're kind of racking our way through the bans as we look to see what the last map's going to be. It might be a DT map.
Yeah, I think a lot of potential for that to be the case. Put a Castle on You might be a map that Nick wants to lean into a little bit here. Generally stronger on speed and generally quite famous for being a strong stream player. Despite this map having mainly stamina heavy requirements, there's a little bit of flow aim aimed in there as well, and Nick is very famous for his strong flow aim stream scores in solo. So I think that's one of the maps that Tebi might want to avoid unless he's really willing to go into that gutsy call. But I'm expecting Rogoku Strip to be the map that Tebi wants to lean into. Dragons and Normal 2 seem to be the maps that Nick can really outshine a little bit more. Tebi has a similar theme of either gimmick control or alt tech control, and so those are things that you're going to want to avoid. Nick is following that theme quite well, getting rid of the DT2, sorry, in Arsene's Bazaar. This is your tech finger control map with a little bit of speed applied there as well.
Yeah, Nick banned the DT3, Tebi banned the DT2. Right. I don't know if we've missed a ban here because we should just have one map left.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, we DT1, DT3, ban Hard Rock 2. I did not see a call for either Normal 2 or Hidden 2, sorry. There we go, Roku Strip. So it's Podcast on You. Podcast on You is the last map. Okay. So Nick seems to have gotten the pick that he wants here.
Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be no mod 2.
Or Trosk. Alrighty. So there we go. Those do seem to be the final picks, all locked in and secured. So Let's Quartz is going to be the opening map here as Tebi's pick. And then straight afterwards, we got DT1 and Hard Rock 1 for next picks, and then Delirium as the last one before our tiebreaker map. And this is the first time in a good while, I think, we've seen Let's Quartz. This is a map that's very strict on its skill sets and quite polarizing. Not many players are comfortable in something like this. So it's good to see Tebi lean into it finally. It is personally one of my favorite maps in this pool. Its style is so interesting and so cool to look at. If you can hit it, of course. Not many can. It's a very uncomfortable map. Very low AR and very, very complex. It's AR 8, 175 BPM, pure control, mapped by Dictopia. I think a common theme with gimmick and hitter maps is that if it's mapped by a prominent player who is very strong at gimmick and hidden, you know that that map is going to be really, really brutal. So, yeah. Yeah, this one's going to be hard, man. And it's been reflected by a lot of the either not being played or just being banned altogether.
Yeah, I think it's when you're up against that kind of player, you're talking about, because this is the whole gimmick with the tournament, is that you're trying to avoid dropping more score. It's not necessarily how well your opponent performs, it's how well you perform individually that make the biggest difference. So, and so far getting into this, bit of accuracy drops for both players, but Tebi gonna be the one in charge. Of course, if this is your first time seeing tournament in laser format, that's quite alright. It's a very new format for a lot of people. But basically, to run it down, accuracy is the clinical factor for a lot of these maps. Maintaining good accuracy is going to keep you ahead for the majority of the time. However, combo does still play its part. It's just in a much reduced role compared to, standard score v1 or score v2 for that matter.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got a few differences in how tapping these notes work in particular. Slider accuracy is a little bit more complex and a lot more emphasized here. So you're going to be a lot more aware of your sliders. Cheesing them and, lightly tapping them off accuracy is not going to still keep you that note. You have to be a lot more careful, as that can reduce your rank a lot. But that's compensated with a reduced note lock by quite a giant margin, practically non-existent compared to standard and stable note lock systems in place. So those stamina or those stream maps, or a lot of the cut maps that you'll see in particularly Hard Rock 1 and Normal 3, sorry. Those maps have a lot of cuts, and the change in the note lock is really emphasizing that, and I think that's a good showcase of what the unique laser styling and scoring system can do for you. But getting into the match now that you know a little bit of the differences between laser and stable, Tebi seems to be running away with this with a decent margin, but I don't think the margin that he's really hoping for here. 60 to 70,000 score, especially on a map as gimmicky as this. Nick is really holding his ground to some degree. Tebi as well, mutually struggling here. 91 to 89% accuracy in favor of Tebi, but it's the combo game that's really keeping Tebi alive here with nearly 100,000 score now in his favor as we get into the last minute of the map.
Yeah, you're starting to see that score margin go up quite significantly as Tebi's really settled into a rhythm into this last minute of the map. And that is going to be one that does finally slow down a little bit, but still has accuracy in hand, and is going to continue to very, very marginally increase that score gap. It's all good stuff. Being ahead after the first map, knowing you've got that fourth map to kind of maybe try and boost you up a little bit, is the place you want to be, really. So far, Tebi's doing what he needs to do on this map, and we'll see how far he can take it in this last 10 seconds.
Yeah, still a little bit left to go. These patterns are a little bit more unique when you have these chains into bus sliders, which can reduce your accuracy by a decent margin if you're not ready for them. But thankfully for Tebi, it's all clean and all simple for him towards the end. Getting himself 140,000 score in his favor. Solid start for him. Definitely a good start. I think he maybe wanted it to be a little bit more one-sided, but Nick definitely put up a good fight, and with a map as difficult and as brutal as this, it's very impressive. So Nick minimizing as much of an impact as he can, but Tebi still has a good lead. And if this double time one becomes close, then Tebi's going to be able to snowball this quite far.
Yeah, I think Tebi's really going to be looking to try and just try and stick with Nick on this one. I don't think Nick played this as well as he wanted to in his first run through. Swisty actually managing to stick with him quite well. So we're very much looking for a repeat performance in this regard. If you're a Tebi fan, Tebi just wants to try and stick with this as well as possible because he knows that the kaleidoscope play from the previous matchup was not ideally where you want to be, and Nick's picking into it to probably try and take some of that score off you. So this is I would say, the really important map for Tebi here.
Yeah, this one still needs to be exemplified for Tebi. At least make it very, very close so that score lead you got from the last match isn't as mitigated. But this is a very unique take on a double time one. This isn't your usual comfortable map. This is very old style grid snap control. You've got a lot of these back and forth patterns very closely together with quite rapid BPM on there as well. AR 10.3 on top. Oh no, AR 9.7 actually, not 10.3, sorry. But a lot of these sections are quite similar in its old style. Maps in 2009, you see these patterns here where it goes from lane into these sharp, really awkward 1-2 patterns, and has a bit of finger control applied there as well with its bursts. So far, so good past the first minute of the map here. Tebi and Nick both duking it out with a little bit of accuracy in favor of Tebi. But after that combo break there from Nick, it is going to lead to a bit more of advantage from Tebi now that combo game and accuracy game established in his favor.
Yeah, you've got, with this map as well, it's the bursts that really drop a lot of accuracy. Miss coming in now for Tebi, that's going to slow things down. Nick really want to try and take advantage, but he hasn't got the combo to do so. And trading with 3% accuracy, like you said.
Oh, nicely done here from both players here. Nick is going to go down just a little bit, but Tebi is holding on to a lot of combo though. But unfortunately for Nick, these specific patterns here are just too much for him. Not able to hold on to anything of high regard. His accuracy is dropping down a lot, and Tebi is on a pop-off spree right now on this specific section here. Able to hold on to the hardest parts of the map and not mitigate his accuracy too much. Granted, still a drop, but very impressive to hit all of that cleanly with a few drops here and there. Better than missing everything like Nick unfortunately has had to deal with. And about 1 minute and 20 seconds left of the map running, and there's 115,000 score in favor of Tebi. This is exactly what he's wanted here. Keeping that lead in check, keeping that upgraded. And we're getting to a bit more of a doubles into control section here. Finger control on the max at this, and unfortunately for Nick, he's not able to hold on and keep his composure intact. No major drops on accuracy for him, but a decent drop in combo, not able to gain anything, whereas Tebi just keeps himself composed.
Yeah, you got big accuracy favor now for Tebi. He's in a really strong position to just carry this through. Nick, I believe, actually got to a point of failure, so his score might not even appear on the MP after this. But a solid performance from Tebi. He's going to quite cleanly pick up some greater score here. Look at that, 300k in his favor.
300k, yeah.
Yeah, really solid stuff. And again, the bursts on that map, really, if you don't hit them perfectly, they tank your accuracy massively. And that's the risk you take with that map. It's a bit volatile, and it's caught Nick out here.
Yeah, Tebi just able to pop off when it really matters on those really difficult sections. Nick did a decent job throughout the map to keep up with Tebi, but on those really difficult parts, he just couldn't keep it up. And thankfully for Tebi, he managed to keep it going and hits those control sections with ease. And now it's time to get into Kaleidoscope. One of those maps that I think we see Nick to be the stronger player, just generally. But Tebi's formidable on hard rock. I really wouldn't doubt his ability on this, even if Nick is quite strong. Considering how well Tebi's been playing throughout this match so far, there's potential for an upset on this. If you can upset Nick on his first pick, the second one's definitely there. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and a short map as well. you know, it is potential. There's a miss coming in for Tebi early on. Again, 2 minutes 5 seconds in length. If Nick can really outperform, another miss coming in from Tebi now, he could gain some massive score back here. Remember, 300k is what he's looking for. Does find a break. That's going to slow things down. Back in favor of Tebi as their accuracies even out. Maybe even slightly in Tebi's favor right now. He's going to pull the score back over, but there's still plenty of time. Minute 20 left. Nick needs to get things under control.
Yeah, accuracy slightly a deficit. Combo slightly a deficit here. Looked promising for the start, but unfortunately for Nick, he's not able to keep that going. Keep that train rolling as Tebi's managed to build himself back up and hold on to this lead by a decent margin. But only 16,000 score in Tebi's favor. Again, this is exactly what you want for Tebi. This is what you want. You want it to be close, especially against a player like Nick who's really powerful on this type of skill. And as we started to get into the harder sections here with the flow more exemplified, these cut doubles and those back and forths really hit you. And it does lead to a break from both players, tying up the accuracy as well here for both players here. But Nick, with that drop, is going to give Tebi that lead once again by a solid 30,000 score margin. But it's still closable here. Look at these back and forth, up and down sections into the flow aim. It's really difficult and really hard to test yourself. But thanks to the laser leniency, not having to drop and worry about those note locks on the cuts does make it a little bit easier for our players to keep that accuracy in check and not go for a giant miss fall apart. It's more the aim sections and the aim difficulty of these cuts was tripping out Nick. And as we get into the last 15 seconds of the map, Tebi is running away with this lead.
Yeah, again, it's not, you know, it's not an unbeatable score, but it has done so much work for him, and just being ahead going into the end of the map and having that score lead in his favor is going to do absolutely wonders going into his second map pick. And yeah, look at that. 424k is what now separates them. That's quite a big margin to pull back in just 2 maps.
Yeah, well done, Tebi. Popping off on every single map, even if it isn't an ideal map that he wants to lean into. Still good. And although that win of Kaleidoscope, Delirium's up next, a map that's very similar in its skill set, both dealing with hybrid aim control. Now, this map, I've said it multiple times just because Aza said it, but similar to Hard Rock 1, like this normal 3, this is a good example and a good showcasing of what the difference is with the Lazer client and how the gameplay changes have been applied and contributed to its map pooling decisions. This map has a lot of control in it, and it does showcase the difference in what you have to do compared to what you'd normally run on stable. This would be a much more difficult map purely because of these cut sections that would lead to much easier note lock. That difficulty is not present in Lazer. Practically, like I said, you know, note lock being significantly reduced to the degree where if you would compare it to Lazer, it's basically nothing. That's again exemplified in this map, let alone in the Hard Rock 1. But on top of that, you have to really focus a bit more on your slider aim here. Slider accuracies are much more important here. And with accuracy being a big factor, anything that can drop your accuracy and anything that makes keeping accuracy a bigger challenge is still there. Like I said, it is traded off with that lack of note lock, which makes maps like these really exciting and really fun to look at as everybody really just purely relies on their aim and not has to worry too much about their tapping or being slightly off. Makes maps like these really satisfying to watch and see these guys perform on.
Yeah, it is a great opportunity to really see what players can showcase, you know, not having things like note lock and things. You can really just see how incredibly accurate players are, even on a map like this, but especially with maps where note lock could be an issue. But both of them do really well so far as we hit the first major section. No early breaks. There goes Nick, though, will be the first one dropping. Tebi doesn't trade it up immediately, and that's good news for Tebi, who will continue to storm through. Another miss coming in from Nick is already putting this match potentially too far out of reach. Nick's got to find something here. Break for Tebi, though.
Yeah, finally Tebi is going to go down, but he's held his composure very well in these sections, those back and forth patterns as well. leading to more and more misses there from Nick. A small miss there from Tebi, dropping accuracy by a decent margin, but not too catastrophic. Still in his favor by about 30,000, but these specific back and forth patterns are leading to misses from both players here. And for Tebi, that's exactly what you want. You want Nick to struggle on this. You really want to mitigate any potential lead that he can gain from this. The more the merrier for Tebi. And both players are seeming to struggle here quite a bit. This aim control seems to really be a struggle for them. Those back and forths are very, very tenuous and very difficult to keep yourself on and keep track of, especially if you're not a signature control player. Not many can really perform at this level to a high degree. You know, some of these patterns are in maps that are world-renowned for their control difficulty. And as we get into that final KI with the doubles a little bit more emphasized and the spacing on some of these cuts a little bit bigger and a little bit more sporadic, Tebi's holding on even more so with these cut doubles into the single sliders here, holding on to a good amount of combo accuracy. Despite not being too dominant in favor of Tebi, still a solid 2% with the combo game really carrying him his lead here with 55,000.
Yeah. 50,000 score for this map alone. He's already up by nearly 400,000 score. Yeah, this would put it at nearly 400 to 500k in one map for Nick to chase down. Nick has to find something here. He has to flip this score as best he can, maintain those accuracies, and hope Tebi finds some chain misses. There's one on the stacks. Drops the combo. Nick will start to pull back score, but how long can he hold on to it? Let's find out.
40 seconds left of the map to go now. And we're starting to close in on that ending section where once again we're in a KI time with a lot more of that control and those really big sliders. Nick is going to go down, and we're going into the 1/3 slider sections here. These are really, really dangerous if your controller's not on point and your tapping is just off. They've switched that BPM a little bit into a 1/3, and that's really, really awkward. And now we're going to one of the hardest parts of the map here with those constant jump doubles that you're going to see in just a moment, just like that. Repeating double patterns that are so difficult to hold on to. And both players are mutually struggling, but once again, that's exactly what you want if you're Tebi here. It doesn't really matter as long as you don't fall apart in comparison to your opponent. It's exactly what you're looking for. And as we got into the end of the map, once again, Tebi is on a tear. 70,000 score again in his favor. That is over 400,000 score in favor of Tebi. 450,000 score almost in his favor. And that's giving Nick a huge mountain to climb for the final map to be picked.
Yeah, Nick's really going to have to pull something out of the bag for this one. Again, if it's a map that Tebi can't play, then it could work in his favor, but
I'm not sure. I think Tebi's capable on this, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that it's the only chance Nick's got at this stage, because he's nearly 500k down going into this map, so he needs an absolute banger performance just to have a chance. But Nick can do it. He is capable, but it comes down to one run, one try.
Yeah, if there's any moment for Nick to really activate and pop up, it has to be now. And it has to be by ridiculous margins. We do not see maps won by this degree very often. Very rarely in this tournament. So it has to be a stellar performance, and it has to be a big fall apart here from Tebi. If Tebi's willing to leave this map open, then it's clear that he isn't too worried about it.
No.
And there's a comfort point for this guy as well. There aren't going to be any significant nerves on him because on top of that, like if you are decently capable on this tapping style, at least for the first little while of the map where that accuracy will start to slow down and drops as long as you hold on to the first 3/4 of the map, it's not too bad for you, especially with the note lock reduction like we said before. This is great for players who struggle just a little bit on that stamina to just push that barrier of entry onto a map like this. Nick is excellent on flow-in maps and excellent on streaming maps. Stamina, he is capable of. Not as prominently known for it, but still valid, especially knowing that this map has that reduced note lock. There's a capability here, but so far, not so good here for Nick. Tebi, despite struggling a little bit of accuracy here, winning a lot in this combo game, and there's a lot of notes in this map. tons of combo that you can build up that will eventually build into something that actually is really meaningful, as long as this act doesn't become too much of a disparaging factor here. It's currently 99 in favor of Nick with 97 in favor of Tebi, but the lead remains in his favor by about 12-13k.
Yeah, as it stands, it's not going to be enough for Nick. He really needs to hold on to what combo he's got here and pray for a Tebi miss, but it's not happened yet. Big spacing sections now. No one's dropping though. Oh, there they both go.
Nick, that's a catastrophic miss there. Completely falling apart on that final stream. The flowing was nothing for him. It's the stamina that's really hurting him now. And he goes down from 99 to 94, 93 accuracy. And Tebi keeps his composure, still holding on to 96, the same back he was running throughout the entire runtime of the start of this map here. And we're about almost halfway through as the flame starts to ramp up, and Tebi doesn't seem to be struggling too much at all. Nick, though, cannot hold on to the combo. The stamina seems to already have taken a toll on him.
Yeah, it will. He's not performing, I think, how he feels. He's not feel 100%. And that does affect you. It affects your mental. It affects so much about what you're doing. And it doesn't look like it's going to change. As Tebi now holds the lead. We've got a minute 30 of this map left, and time is almost up for Nick, I'm afraid.
Tebi? Still holding on to the stream. This is a dead stream section, dropping a lot of act, finally going down, but that is a really impressive hold. With Nick on the mutual struggle here, still not having that accuracy advantage that he's hoping for. At this rate, like, what can you do? You're going to have to assess the rest of the map and hope for Tebi to drop on the accuracy here. Does lose a little bit from that stamina struggle, winning a few 100s here and there, but really nothing of tangible value here for Nick. It's gone from like 10k to 30k to now 112,000 score. And this section, despite being quite heavy on the mechanics side, is not really that difficult compared to the raw stamina and flow sections that we've seen from both of these players. It's merely that stamina and long-term composure for Tebi. And this just seems nearly all but over unless we see dramatic falling apart here. But I don't even think that's going to be enough.
No, it probably won't be. Yeah, this just continues to not play into the favor of Nick.
That's it.
And that is it.
In an absolute blur, in a very powerful performance here from Tebi. Nick's just not having the performance he's wanted, unfortunately. The Seed 5 player of the Lazer Grand Arena has been taken down by Seed number 12 in Tebi. With great effort nonetheless. Good performances all around, winning every single map with a solid advantage. And that in turn leads to a win from Tebi by about score difference of just over 500,000 score.
Yeah, he's performed really, really well to the new format and the bracket that it leads into, and that will see him through to next week's double elimination bracket. Congratulations to Tebi. Commiserations to our 5th seed, Nick, who just was not the Nick that we know today, unfortunately.
Yeah, but definitely a Tebi that I'm excited to see. Definitely, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. If I see potential of holding on to such a unique set of maps here, I'm looking forward to what he can do in the future. But until then, we're going to be moving on to another match very soon, Dimash, I believe. Are we switching to a different match, or are we going to be signing out for now? Need a little bit of confirmation from production, I think.
Yeah, we're going to need the confirmation from them as to what the plans are going to be, but there was another match that was scheduled to take place, and we will be making that switch. So in just a moment, we should be switching over to... I can have the list in front of me.